Hey everyone, I'm Alice, and this is not a rabbit hole. Tis a class assignment. We're going to be discussing the designs of Disney princesses in the context of nonverbal communication, because this is a nonverbal communications course, and overall attraction. As a disclaimer, one, I will be focusing on animated princesses rather than their live action counterparts, because an animator can decide what Aurora looks like, but uh, it's a lot harder and often unethical to decide what Elle Fanning looks like when she's playing Aurora. Second of all, there's a lot of elements that can also be explained by artistic inspiration and by animation principles and techniques, which I will not be discussing. And third of all, I will be focusing on features that appear in the real world and are not the result of magic. So first of all, to answer the basic question of the video title. Why do princesses look like that? There's the stereotype of what is beautiful is good, also known as the halo effect. There have been lots of studies on the matter. Basically, we tend to believe beautiful people to be good more than we do with less beautiful people. This begins in childhood and persists a little less as adults, but not by much. One study, which I'll link in the description below, is that this is because we want to form and keep bonds with beautiful people. This explains how the princesses tend to have more traditionally beautiful features, while their associated female antagonists, where applicable of course, have the uglier features. People also tend to prefer to date attractive people, particularly if they don't know them well, such as in the context of online dating, even if they're less inclined to trust a more attractive person. As many princess films, especially older ones, tend to have love at first sight as a major plot point, it's therefore a little more believable if the princess is the fairest in the land. There is, however, something to be said about the matching hypothesis, where you are more inclined to date someone who matches you, but the Disney princes also tend to be quite pretty, so that's not an issue here. But what makes the princesses traditionally beautiful? There's two contrasting elements that factor in here: coenophilia and the scarcity principle. Coenophilia is the idea that the average face is more attractive. The average face is mostly symmetrical and lacks invisible mutations. You'll notice that our princesses tend to be clear-faced and don't have distinct features on one side or the other. And in regards to our princesses here, we tend to prefer our average faces with a combination of facial neoteny, or features associated with youth and maturity. The best known example of facial neoteny, and the most common in our princesses, is large eyes. Other features include full lips and a small nose. While these features are valued in both men and women, it's especially so in women. And our best example of this blend in princesses would be Rapunzel. She has the largest eyes as well as full lips and a small nose, which make her look very young and babyish. In fact, I swear her eyes did not at all shrink between her baby model, her child models, and her adult model. The average and symmetrical principles also extend to body shape / type / size, etc. Women are on average smaller than men, and women deemed more attractive are shorter than their male counterparts, which means sucks to be me, but great for all the princesses who are shorter than their princes. There's also a preference for an approximate 0.70 waist to hip ratio, although some princesses have that ratio a bit more exaggerated than that number, with the unofficial Princess Meg from Hercules being the most extreme and is often animated to accentuate that. A good example of coenophilia and its associated principles overall would be Snow White. She has large eyes, full lips, a small nose, which is facial neoteny, but she also has symmetrical features and nothing that stands out. Her figure is a modest 0.70 ratio. Her hair is black, which is quite common. Her skin is quite fair, which is both a trait typical for the audiences of the original premiere and a trait typical for Germany, which is where the film is set. And she was designed to be the pretty girl next door in the first half of the 20th century, so it makes sense. The other principle is the scarcity principle, which is kind of the opposite of the average face, which is basically we're attracted to more rare features. This might be because we want something more unique, or maybe some scarcer features are more associated with other valuable traits such as wealth. Many of our princesses do have more unique traits, such as Aurora's perfectly curled golden hair and Elsa's blue eyes. Our best example for the scarcity principle would be Ariel, most likely. She's the only one in her animated world with red hair, and as if to make that clear for audiences, it's a shade that doesn't appear naturally in humans. The animators also take care to put her in outfits and environments that help to highlight this. Obviously, throughout the film, she's considered the belle of the proverbial ball, and it's likely partly due to having such a prominent trait stick out everywhere. She also has blue eyes, another rare trait that is actually quite valued traditionally, and that combination is actually very rare. Merida also has both these traits, but Pixar Scotland seems to have a much larger concentration of these genes than the overall world population. And that is why Disney princesses look the way they do from a standpoint of nonverbal communication and appearance. If you're a typical or casual viewer, please let me know in the comments if you'd like me to tackle that question from the standpoint of artistic inspiration and animation principles. If you're my professor, please give me a good grade. Like, subscribe, I apologize for any editing mishaps I did myself, and I'll see you back down the rabbit hole someday, in theory.